Today is Tuesday, November 23rd, and you're listening to the Beer Temple podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalau of Is Was Brewing. I'm here with my other co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. I will have to say, I was about an hour before, I was like yawning. I put my head down, and Stephen, who works here, was like, "Are you gonna? You do want to take a nap? I can leave." I was like, "No, it's fine. I think I went to Chipotle and they're kind of a gut bomb." And then I realized, like, I had gone to Chipotle 5 hours ago, and I was like, what else could it be? And I realized I'd also gotten my booster shot 5 hours ago. So that could be it.
I like that in your world, equal highlights are getting a life-saving vaccine and eating a Chipotle burrito.
Eating lunch.
Same.
Yeah.
They take up the same space, if not more, in your mind.
Yes, because my therapist reminded me, you have to eat. You have to eat, Chris, because I will forget to eat all day long. She's like, "Hey, what have you had to eat today?" I was like, "I had half a cup of coffee." She's like,
"That's not even
leave
eating, Chris.
And go eat something and drink." It's on my daily to-dos is drink a glass of water because I won't drink anything all day.
I'm in a similar boat a lot of
We've
time.
talked about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. I ate today. I was about to make a joke that I had a similar experience because I ate 2 pieces of pizza in a minute and a half because I was driving around doing deliveries. And I was like, I can't stop.
Right.
I've got to keep driving around.
So I'm doing okay. Good. I think, I'll be rejuvenated by this show.
So this isn't like your Jordan flu game show where you're just going to like go off and...
Maybe it is.
Okay, maybe it is.
Maybe it will be.
All right. We're here with Fade Master Serge as well. Serge,
obviously.
Thanks for fading it in.
He's fading it in on the road. Roadcaster. And we should probably give a formal thank you to everyone out there listening. And a thank you to Lumpen Radio for putting us on the air.
I mean, after the audit last week, it was a little touch and go if we were going to stay on.
It's true. I did talk to Edmar after the fact.
Yeah, and he had forgotten completely about
everything. He had forgotten about it, and he said, "You're due for an audit."
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
See you in 2 weeks.
I'm going upstairs to play video games.
Yeah, got a new skin.
Yes. So yeah, that was fun though. That was fun having Ed and Don on last week. So someone who shall remain nameless called it the most depressing episode we'd ever done.
And there have been some doozies in there too.
Yeah. That's good. So let's see. We're going to see if we can reach new lows this week.
We're just trying to match the energy of the world,
Exactly. But we have. It's not a roundtable episode, but we do have a bunch of guests this week. So we should probably just get going unless there's anything that you wanted to talk about.
No.
All right. Well, let's do it in classic fashion, introduce and by order of seniority. We've got a definite senior member of the panel this week, Mr. Josh Noel of the Chicago Tribune. What's up?
Grizzled and senior. Greetings. Hello.
Yes.
What's the difference between a round table and a bunch of guests is what I want to know.
It's subtle but distinct.
Planning.
Yeah, basically. I think it's I don't know, maybe number of topics. It's
the intention to discuss multiple topics versus kind of jam on one and then see where we go.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
Is my brain is still, I'm still mulling over what if we'd been able to deliver the vaccine in Chipotle burritos, would the anti-vaxxers have shut the F up? If we could have just given them some nice Chipotle.
Free
Chipotle, vaccine stuffed, and chicken or beef, your choice, even pork if you desire.
Or sofritas for the veg lovers.
Something for everyone. COVID be a thing of the past now.
Are Chipotle burritos more enticing than $1 million lotteries? Because that was happening in some states, and it still was barely moving the needle, pun intended.
Probably to some people, yes.
Yeah.
To America.
A burrito in the hand is worth $1 million in the bush, I suppose.
Yeah, perhaps. Well, other than vax puns aside, anything new with you?
Oh, just cranking. It's barrel age season, so I guess that's part of what we're going to talk about. But I've been drinking a whole lot of barrel aged beer lately.
Nice.
For professional purposes, and
As we always do.
pretty excited to take a break from that, to be honest.
Are you going to give us now or later on a preview to maybe what some of your favorite barrel aged stouts that you've had lately are?
I would love to do that.
Awesome. I would love to hear that. Cool.
And I would love to hear thoughts from everyone else, too.
Okay.
That's Chekhov's Barrel Aged Stout review now. It's got to go off in the third act.
Okay, there we go. We'll keep them hanging. Otherwise, people will just, cut out now once they get the hot reviews. So then let's move on. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Always enjoy it.
And you get an executive producer credit on this episode for helping line up the guests, which we could not do this episode without, because this episode is really centered around an article that you wrote in the Trib recently, right?
And your livelihood and
Yes.
the livelihood of the guests. Yes. Do we want to introduce the other folks
Let's
and
do
then
it.
get into that?
Let's do
or-
it. So we
okay.
have to do it in order of seniority. So up next would be Mr. Dave Hawley of the beer Cellar. What's up, Dave? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, bud. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. What's
been
new
too
with
long.
you? Yeah, it has been.
I saw you yesterday.
I know. I did briefly get to see you as I was running around.
Even that's too long.
Yeah, it's been way that.
What's new with you? You got your Neckbeard Nectar release coming out in a couple days, right?
Yeah, so we just got the draft trailer delivered tonight, and then Kirby's dropping off 120 cases of neckbeard to Glen Ellen tomorrow, and then I think like another 80 to our Geneva store.
Like
a lot of
Kirby's a good guy, good steak and potatoes guy.
He is taking
Rides the Green Dragon every now and then, but other than that, he's a good guy. So awesome.
And we
Thank you.
definitely
I just have to
need to-
load in as many subtle things that nobody else will know, but Kirby will know.
Kirby will know.
I do remember that episode, though.
Yeah.
I do remember that episode.
We are going to dive into, I hope, the backstory of the neckbeard nectar
Yeah.
for the people.
Yeah. You want to?
Sure.
Oh no, we'll get there.
We'll do it
We'll
in
get
time.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
There, yeah.
I'm teasing the future of the episode.
It's a
Go for
Chekhov's
it.
nectar.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose
nectar.
the audience.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. Thanks for zooming in.
Absolutely.
And our second guest who is zooming in is Mr. Eric Schmidt of Orange and Brew, and in classic Beer Temple podcast style, first time guests introduce themselves. So, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, Eric?
Sure. Thank you for having me on today. Yeah, we are in Downers Grove. I want to make it clear. I think, Dave, we need to make clear that you are younger than me just because you're senior. I don't think you want anybody to think you are older. So
You're more handsome, so it's fine.
no, keep that youth. Keep the youth as long as you can.
I will.
Yeah, I mean, professionally here, 3 years in Downers Grove. We'll be celebrating that in a couple weeks.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I do some of the TV work on the side too for Comcast and all that fun stuff. So this is, midlife crisis over here.
Are you covering the Wheaton North High School Championship game on Saturday?
I'm not. No, that will be CSN now. They'll take all those. Nope. I haven't covered a championship for a while since I was at CLTV. Those are too cold, man. Forget that.
It is November in Chicago.
So the midlife crisis. It's always nice to do something that is existentially terrifying for your midlife crisis.
yeah.
Like start up a brick and mortar retail shop.
Swim
I don't
deeper.
know,
Yeah,
guys.
right.
I convinced my wife, rather than the Corvette, I said, we won't be spending money. We'll be eliminating our number one household expense.
There you go.
Fortunately, Dave, that meant at your expense, because a lot of that expense is coming at your place back in the day. Dave's been a big mentor and a big help to us.
Oh, awesome. I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, we go way back.
Oh, cool. Should we talk about beers we've had lately that we're interested in, or should we just get right into it? Let's just do it. Let's do it, man. Yeah. All right. So we'll go around the table, talk about any beers that you've either had lately that you've really liked or that were memorable. Doesn't even need to be that you liked them. That stood out for one reason or another, or a beer that you're looking forward to having, perhaps on draft at a mobile trailer or something like that. But no, I'm kidding. So who wants to go first? Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right, go for it, Mike.
When I was running around doing some deliveries out and seeing both of you guys yesterday, how you doing? I stopped by Afterthought, said hi to Mike, and
Cool.
he gave me a bottle of a version of Tradition, which is like a beer they make on a regular basis that was actually made with something called pre-prohibition malt from Sugar Creek, which is like this 6-row malted barley how they would have made it before.
Dovetail is doing something with that same malt, because somebody was just telling me about
Is it
that.
pre-pro malt, or is that
Yes.
the Edelweiss malt or something
Oh,
like that?
it's that.
There's
It's
another
that
malt
Edelweiss malt,
that
I think.
So Caleb is is a genius and found malt with genetics from areas of the Europe that would be most similar to the climate in Indiana where he's at, and they got 500 grams of it, grew that up, then grew an acre of it. Then now he has enough to actually malt and do commercial beers with. So he's been going all over the country making beers with this varietal of malt that no one's made beer with in, I don't even know, hundreds of years maybe. That's not a beer I had. It was just in that they make this 6-row malted barley.
It's 6-row.
It's 6-row, and it's kilned somewhat inconsistently. So some of the grains are darker, some are lighter, which balances out to 6 Lovabond rather than 2 with normal pale malt.
Oh, so you don't blend, you just go all with that.
Yeah, so when you didn't have even heating, you would get different hot spots and stuff. So Afterthought used that for the base of a black batch of Tradition, made this kind of amber beer to guard with it, and it was really, really cool and really unique and really lovely.
Nice. Yeah. That's a cool story too.
Yeah, Caleb's doing some cool stuff down there.
Yeah, I mean, if there is one story or one thing that is like a broken record, it's like every brewery that I talk to talks about, and Sugar Creek malt. We're doing this crazy stuff with Sugar Creek malt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's really cool.
It's exactly what I want people to be doing.
It's exactly what I'm into. I get it. And you're bringing it up again.
So you're hearing more about malt than hops from brewers. That's what's firing them up these days?
Well, I mean, the brewers who maybe I sit and geek out with. No, I mean, I'm sure if I sat down with Jude from Hop Butcher, he'd talk my ear off and entertain me thoroughly about hops.
Talus and all
Yeah,
that. Things
yeah.
like that.
But yeah, I mean, no, Sugar Creek is definitely a mini little buzz. There's quite a buzz with breweries about.
But also just cool to hear people fired up about
malt.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. For sure.
Yeast had its day and hops had its day, and it's malt's turn, baby.
I'm
back,
ready.
baby.
I am ready for some English pub ales.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're doing some really cool stuff now. They have diastatic brown malt too, which is what they would make real porter out of. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool stuff they're making down there.
That's cool.
I'm excited about water personally.
Water profiles.
That's the next one.
In
Wait 5 years.
Well, in general, but yeah, profiles. I could talk your ear off about waters, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. Okay.
Speak my language now.
Yeah. You know what? That'll be the after show where when that red light goes back to green, that's when you guys talk about that.
That's the Patreon episode.
That's the Patreon episode. Yeah. It's all being captured. Anyone else want to go? Any beers that you guys have had, Eric and Dave or Josh? I can go. All right. There'll be no silence. Okay. So
there can't be silence.
There can't be. I had, it was one of those beers. I think sometimes the best beers are the ones that surprise you. You like them more than you expect to. And I expected to like this beer a decent amount. There was a couple bottles that someone brought in to the shop of the Gyrator Doppelbock from New Glarus. I'm like, okay, classic style. New Glarus is going to crush it. And I drank it, and holy hell, it was perfect. I mean, I can't think of anything I would have changed to make it better. So in that case, I mean, it has to be like a 10 out of 10. It was so good.
5 bottle caps for a Doppelbock?
For I like 3.8.
Yeah, it's about as high as you can go for a lager.
Yeah, I give it like a 3.8.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
3.8 bottle caps.
Best lager I've ever had, 3.5.
Yeah, exactly. Cannot be improved upon in any way.
Yeah.
3.6.
Perfect example of
3.5
style.
bottle caps. Not into lagers.
Yeah, it's got that lager taste I don't like.
Exactly. So you read my review.
Yeah.
Got it. It was so like raisiny, and it had all the sweet flavors, but wasn't that sweet. It like dried out, and the aftertaste lingered for like, I took one sip of it, and like for like a minute, my entire mouth was filled with these like super bready, like I'm saying fruitcake, but like those like sweet breads, not
like Finest Glad, but like sweeter breads.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like my new favorite thing in beer that I've come to recently. I guess it's malt based, but it's like perceived sweetness, then it's not actually sweet. Like things where you can present something, like we just put out this beer that has honey in it, where it presents very sweet, but then it actually finishes incredibly dry. The beer's like 1.2 Plato, but because you have the aromatics of honey, your brain's thinking it's sweet, and you get all these flavors and aromas, and then it actually is very pleasing and cleaning and cleansing on your palate.
Hops can do that too, though.
Totally.
Hops can definitely do it.
They won't really present as sweet in the same way that you can get malt character from.
Right, but they present as flavors that you associate with sweet, and then your mind kind of plays a little trick on you, and you think it's sweeter than it actually is. I mean, back in the day, like that was like citrus thing. Like you would get this like super peachy flavor, but it didn't necessarily need to be that sweet. And they could actually dial the sweetness back a little bit because...
And then bitterness would come and have some structure and clear your palate off. And remember beer?
I remember beer.
Yeah.
What's cool
3.5
about the thing you just
wasn't hazy.
described with happening in malt, I think, as opposed to hops, is I love like the interplay with the bready.
Yeah.
How the bready sort of counteracts it instead of the bitter, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that perceived sweet in hops can get really overbearing.
Sure.
Real quick.
Cloying
Yeah. But when it's done, like, I had actually reminding me, I had a Doppelbock from local Heroes Cruz Blanca not that long ago.
I mean, they're killing
Yeah,
it.
they make
breweries
absolutely
really good beer. And that Doppelbock was absolutely lovely.
Does not surprise
And
me.
everything you were, I mean, I'm not going to, I love Cruz Blanca. I'm not going to compare anyone to New Glarus because New Glarus is, they're the king. But you're bringing it all back. So
That's cool. That's fun. Who's next?
I'll go.
All right.
I had afterthought, actually.
Oh, wow.
It was not an afterthought beer,
2 afterthoughts.
but I was there at the tap room, but I had Art History's Dithering Bitter, which is their Yorkshire best bitter.
Got it.
They modeled it after the Timothy Taylor bitter.
Got it.
I want some of that now.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Sounds great.
That's cool. Yeah, we're working with them to maybe get some casks going.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll +3 that. They're I tried some stuff from them recently. I was very impressed.
Awesome. Yeah. That's cool. Who's next? Josh? Eric?
Well, I'll say, speaking of casks, so I'll give you 2 beers because the first one is just self-serving, but we did our collaboration with Pollyanna, and we did a cask. It was the first time we did
cool.
a cask. So it's a West Coast IPA, and when we were brewing it, I talked to Brian and had said we were kicking around doing that. I've been in the tap room where they've had cask ale, and he said, you know what, this would be a great beer to try it with. So I did a little dry hopping and kicked it off last Friday. It was great. So we're going to try to bring cask ale back at least a little bit.
Nice.
Nice. Did you gravity feed it or did you hand pump it?
Gravity.
Nice.
Yep.
Set it up on the counter and
Not like you posers here, hand pumping that stuff.
yeah, we
Come on.
We keep it in the fridge and hand pump it. We hand
Yeah.
pump it and we've even got a breather. So
Cool. What is it? Like
we're not camera.
1890?
Ugh,
Yeah, exactly.
don't even bother.
Right. 1890. Lame. I'm talking about the
probably
1500s.
Sparklers.
I'm in the
too,
16th century, bro. All right. You're
I shaved
last,
off
bud.
about half of my knuckle once tapping a Pollyanna gravity-fed cask. I severely misjudged where my hand and the hammer
You're
was
supposed
going.
to do that with hammers, not knives. There, Dave.
Yeah, well, guess what? If you hit the hammer hard enough against the knuckle, it rips all the skin off right away.
Yikes.
Still something I've never done. Don't really have an interest in. I don't think I've ever done it. I don't remember, but I have Steven do that shit. Whoa, stuff. Yeah.
I will always have an employee do it moving forward.
All right, Josh, your turn.
For safety.
Actually, I bought a beer here a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
maybe last week. Just a nice, clean West Coast IPA from California. And as I was drinking it in my kitchen, I was like, I'm drinking a West Coast IPA from California. This
Yeah,
is kind
right?
of fun.
Nice.
It's taking me back to 2013.
I think that's what all three of us got before the show. Serge, Mike, and I.
Is
Independently.
that the Beechwood?
We got
Yeah.
Beechwood.
Yeah, so that was actually it was Beechwood. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Funny, they
just-
know how to brew them out there.
Yeah,
Huh?
they sure do, and thank God for it.
Yeah,
you know? It's
good beer.
nice to I'm just glad the style sort of has refound its place in the constellation, and it's it's not what I want to drink every single time, but I'm sure happy to drink it a lot.
50% of the time, it's what I want to drink all the time.
Amen.
I mean, it's one of those things like I crave. Like, there's very few beer experiences I crave, but every once in a while I do crave a West Coast IPA or something like Maine Lunch. There's almost nothing else. Like, I never crave a barrel-aged stout.
I know what you're going to say next.
Crave saisons, but
I know
they're
a
all
specific
city.
beer you will say. What other beer do you?
Terrace Bulba.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of like a Belgian.
That's the West
pale
Coast
ale.
IPA.
Boy, can I
of
say
Belgian
something
Brussels.
totally obnoxious?
Yes.
Is I had a Terrace. This was a while ago now. I had a Terrace Bulba here. Someone recommended it. This is the greatest. I had it. I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then I went to Belgium, and I asked the bartender. I said, "What should I get?" And the bartender said, "You got to have a Terrace Bulba." I was like, "Bro, I had that in the States, and it was just okay." He's like, "Just have it."
Shut up.
It was awesome.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The first Terrace Bulba is a very good beer. Your seventh Terrace Bulba is the best beer in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
There's one time
And now do that in Belgium.
I did do that in Belgium.
Yeah.
It was the best.
One time.
One time you guys had a
At
20
band
liter
camp.
of Terrace Bulba that I kept trying to get you to tap and tried to drink through an entire keg of Fiend du Monde because it was on behind that. That didn't work. But when
Yeah.
you did tap it, I sat here and drank like 9 of them and convinced other people to come and meet me throughout the day so I'd have drinking
I
partners.
think
the
like
whole time.
5 people killed that keg in like 2 days.
Yeah. I came back the next day to have a couple too.
Yeah, that's always fun when that happens. I mean, that's a beer for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You want to take just a quick break, get a refresh, and then we're going to come back and talk about what should we talk about? Let's talk about a specific beer or line of beers.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. Which one, Josh? You pick. Which one?
Nectar.
Okay. Well, I said Josh because he's a senior member.
I'm going to go Michelob Ultra Seltzers.
Okay.
Are those a thing?
Well, that's what we're going to talk
Is that
about.
a thing?
I believe they're organic, boys.
Oh.
Nice.
Wow.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Get ready. I'm going to start doing
Strap
some
in.
research, and then we'll come back and talk about Michelob Ultra Seltzer. All right.
And we're back at the Beer Temple sort of round table, panel of guests.
There you go. Perfect. Well done.
Nailed it.
And we had a meeting of executive producers during the break while we were getting beer, and we decided we're going to shelf the Bud Light. I mean the Mick Ultra.
Mick Ultra NA seltzer
Yes.
line. That
Grudgingly, there was. I did vote against this decision. For
Yes,
the record,
you were out.
I
you
was
were
outvoted. Yeah.
Yes, and we decided to talk about Bourbon County Stout.
very similar beer.
Yeah, they're basically the same beer. They're owned by the same company.
That's not shade. That is factual.
This is a
Yeah.
factual statement.
Yeah.
Equally allocated, probably.
Yeah,
Ooh.
probably.
What's that
So
mean?
yeah, So why don't we? Where should we begin? Where do you think would be a good place to begin with this discussion, Mike?
Well, I guess there was an article in the Tribune that came out yesterday.
Yeah, I think so.
Hit the news yesterday, discussing the mechanics behind how Goose Island goes about dispersing some of their more sought-after variants for Bourbon County. It's written by one of our guests, and maybe he would like to talk a little bit. Yes, Spade Master Surge. It's first published article, first byline.
Yeah.
Maybe Josh, would you talk a little bit about the impetus of your article and what you learned while researching it?
Yes. So I'll start by saying I was planning to write it a year ago for Bourbon County Release 2020, but November of 2020 there were a few other things going on.
Yes,
commanding my professional attention.
Indeed.
So it got pushed off, and then I actually revisited it in the spring. I wrote a story about the 10-year anniversary of Goose Island's sale to Anheuser-Busch, just looking back at it. And I was going to fold this into that as sort of a representation of what Goose Island is right now. And the article sort of took up, for better and for worse, the things that have happened under AB ownership. But it was just too rich. So I just stashed it and said I'm going to just hold it till November. So, as probably everyone listening knows, Goose Island basically invented bourbon barrel-aged stout. Bourbon County Stout is the first one, and basically most ambitious breweries have a barrel aging program now and do a bourbon barrel aged stout. Not that you have to.
Most do, though.
Most do, yeah. And
you said ambitious. You said ambitious breweries.
Yeah, I think if a brewery is trying to really flex its... Oh, that was shade, yeah. You want to respond to that, sir?
No, that's not shade. It's like you were saying before. That's just factual.
I've done my bourbon barrel aging. I don't need to. I'm past it.
But it is the way that a lot of breweries sort of try to flex their muscles and show we can, play in this high octane, expensive
make
sandbox.
Something special. Yeah.
And Goose Island deserves the credit for doing it pretty much first. No one's really ever argued that.
I think depending on how drunk people get, I think Larry Bell said he did it before, maybe.
Yes, but that is true. Larry did try to take credit, but then he always sort of backs off that argument a little bit, ultimately.
But yeah, widely agreed upon, Goose Island, if not the first, the most impactful, and then
by far.
Definitely that.
Yeah, by far.
So now it's a family of beers released every year on Black Friday, and I've known for a while. I mean, I think a lot of people in the industry or around the industry, I'm not in the industry, but I certainly talked to a lot of people in it. For a while, there's been some frustrations and concerns from smaller retailers, especially since the sale to AB, about how Bourbon County is allocated. And especially, there's sort of two tiers of Bourbon County at this point. There's the basic Bourbon County, and then there's, a couple variants, like the one with, I forget, coffee and granola a couple years ago.
Sure.
Like those are sort of less in demand. And then there's the, the ones in the fancy bourbon barrels, double barrel aged, triple barrel aged, whatever it is. Those are the ones people freak out about. In a good way, I mean, the beer nerds. And there has been some frustration and concern about how Goose Island allocates those beers to stores. And so I'd known about that for a while and heard about it for a while. But then once I started hearing about stores saying, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to even sell Bourbon County anymore. It's just not worth it to me. And I'm going to go one step further. I'm not going to sell Goose Island at all. I'm just done with them. So there was, one example sort of floating around there I'd heard about. And then there was another one. And then there was another one. And now I know of at least 5.
Wow.
Some are tied into the allocation thing is a big issue. A second issue is something I wrote about earlier this year, which was the brewery's reaction to employees trying to unionize last year, which rubbed some people the wrong way also. So that's sort of a secondary thing. It's not all the allocation thing. I think the people here tonight are going to talk mostly about the allocation thing, but the union thing did put some other people off the brewery. But once independent beer shops in Goose Island's home market were choosing to not only not carry Bourbon County, one of the most important beers to come out of Chicago since the birth of craft beer, literally, and as well as Chicago's oldest and most iconic beer company. At that point, well, there's a story here, So took several weeks, stretched out over a few months, talked to the different retailers, the ones that are on the record or in the story, talked to several off the record, just to understand, all varying perspectives.
You talked to me off the record. We can't say what I said off the record, but you talked to me off the record.
Okay,
on the record, you talked to me off the record.
You were among them. Yes, it is true. Yes. And a really interesting story emerged. Sort of, it reflects, I think, in some ways, sort of where Goose Island is right now under AB ownership and the pressures they face and the things they are grappling with, and the frustrations around these other two fellas on the show tonight can talk about this more. They're both quoted extensively in the article and spent a lot of time with me on the phone explaining all this stuff. Well, you know what? I'll stop explaining it. I'll let them explain it.
I think Dave should go first. I mean, he was by far the earliest retailer I knew of to just tell Goose where they could put it and just dropped them. Can you talk a little bit about? Can you just talk a little bit, Dave?
Yeah. So we opened January 6th, 2014. So like early fall 2013, I got my liquor license. I started to place my first orders. Going back in the history books, Brian Kirby, now owner of Heartland Beverage, was actually my River North sales rep, who was in charge of selling me Bourbon County the first year I opened. So I told him we were opening in January, so we were going to miss the Bourbon County, but it was one of my favorite beers, so I was really excited to get it. So he made sure that we got a few cases of the regular. We got the prop. We got what I think I told Josh, backyard rye that year. So we had them ready when we opened up. Then I was told that, hey, you got to carry Goose Island year round, and your allocations will be even better next year.
And so that's the real, right. That's a big part of the issue here, right? Is the suggestion that you gotta say again?
Just bold-faced lies.
Well, keep going. Just explain how it became not the case.
So I mean, part of it is my own naivety. I was 29 years old when I opened this company. So I was like, hey, I'm done working for the man. I am the man now. I don't want people trying to boss me around, tell me what I got to carry. I did this myself. We're going to carry what we want to carry. But also I don't know the rules of the beer game and all that type thing. I didn't know there was a game. I quickly found out there's a game, and then I was playing it wrong in their eyes. So yeah, fast forward to allocation time. All the promises that had been made all year were now defunct. So I got a case of regular, maybe a couple cases of regular, something else. And then I called them this is not what you guys told me. Oh, well, we got a less yield this year and blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's Goose Island. What do you mean less yield? I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of bottles, right? So it's just the lies, the excuses. And I started this company to work for myself. Why am I going to let these guys dictate what happens in my store that I pay rent for? So that was when I had just started getting distribution from Chris at Transient on his Saisons. And then I got to try Buckley for the first time. And I'm like, oh shit. This dude knows what's up. Sorry, Serge. I saw him reach for the pen. I apologize.
You're good. You don't have to apologize.
So I tried Buckley and I was like, wow, this is really an amazing beer. So I called Chris and I'm like, hey, I don't want to do Bourbon County anymore. They're kind of jerking me around. They promised one thing, they're doing another thing. And I kind of want to do my own thing. Would you want to partner up and design a beer together and make a beer together? and he was on board from day one. And this is our seventh year or seventh batch doing this.
Bravo, I will say, I having watched the whole thing go down and having talked to you while that stuff was going down, I think it was an incredibly savvy move, and you did it at the perfect time. And I'm very much, I just have a lot of respect how you did it, and then also took that same day and made it yours with a different brewery and just made your own thing of it. Very creative. Shoot, man, I would have done it. I would have done it if I had the idea. And I don't say that about many other bottle shops, but I do it.
No, he does not.
One thing that was really interesting to me as we were talking about it, and which is in the article, is that for that first year, though, you were willing to play the game. I think you said you carried 22 different Goose SKUs that year, I want to say.
Yeah, I went back into the inventory.
Wow.
You went and you carried 312 Urban Wheat Ale, throw that classic quote on us.
That's gas station beer, not beer cellar beer.
Yeah, and you said that the 3-1, that's just not what your customers wanted. And you said it would sit on the shelf and go out of code, right?
Right. Like, I would literally order a case, and then the rep would come down about 3 months later, and I'd be like, dude, it's out of code, take it away. And then he'd bring another case down, and hey, this one's out of code. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are you wasting your time, wasting my time over one case of gas station beer?
But you were willing to have that, relationship for the first year in business with the eye on the prize of the Bourbon County allocation, correct? And then,
100%.
Yeah. And why at that time did that seem attractive to you? Was it Bourbon County was that big a deal?
Oh, because I'm a beer geek first and foremost. Like I told you before, I love Bourbon County. The other night when you completed the article, I popped the 2013 I had left in my cellar, and I mean it was I like the beer. Like, it's good beer. Like, nobody's denying that. It's just crappy business practices that I don't want to be a part of. I started my own company to not have to deal with this.
I think this ties into what we talked about last week too, right? Where as these businesses get bought out and they change their business practices, it no longer really fits the ethos, even though they're wearing the clothing.
Sure. I think it's a very nuanced, complicated issue. Believe it or not.
As he sits in front of his full allocation of Goose Island.
Well, I will also say, I mean, as a little bit of street cred, I probably was the most, one of the most vocal, publicly vocal, I guess, voices or people about these allocations and stuff like that. I talked to Josh for years about that sort of stuff. I don't know if it went on record or not, but literally, I don't know. It might have gone in print, and I certainly was on this radio show.
Yeah, I feel like you discussed it on this
for
show.
sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, I've definitely heard you
so I haven't.
I was just busting your chops.
Yeah, it's not like I kowtowed or anything like that. I remember saying, if you want, I said it to Goose Island, and I think I said it on this show, and I'm pretty sure I said it to Josh. I said, if you want your brand to be thought of as, what you line up in the tube sock aisle to, every Black Friday, then that's fine. Go that direction. You can do it. But I just don't. I don't think that's smart. But it's not my brewery, and do your thing. Now, but that doesn't mean that I don't. I mean, Dave and I have watched this thing for a while, and there's a lot of subtlety and nuance to it. But before we get into that, I'd love to hear Eric's take on it as someone who's come to this a little bit more recently. Is that, so is there any setup, or why don't you set it up? Because you guys have had some discussions, Josh, not to throw you.
Well, he has actually a pretty similar story. So does another guy I interviewed, Denver Worker, who owns Crafted 1979 in the South Burbs. I know, isn't that a fantastic
awesome name?
Denver Worker.
Invented jeans.
Sounds like it.
In a city in Colorado. Yeah, no, Eric just sort of was generation 2.0 of a similar thing. Dave, you were ahead of your time. Eric, it's a similar story. Which again, I think what the interesting thing is that everyone I interviewed carried Goose Island. Nobody started saying, "Screw this, I'm not going to work with these guys." Everybody wanted to work with these guys and tried to work with them. Eric, accurate?
Definitely, Josh. It's, they're craft beer royalty in Chicago. So when we opened, we don't know what's going to move in our shop compared to Dave's shop, compared to Denver's shop. It all depends on what your clientele is, what your customer base is. So when we opened, we had to decide when we opened, I think it was like 250 different SKUs. What are the 250 different things we think are going to move here? And then you learn, right? Like you just keep continuing to learn and you continue to pivot and figure out what people want, what they don't want. And we quickly realized that where we're at, Goose Island was not something they were interested in. So I don't know that I necessarily, I wanted to play the game. I knew the game. I wanted to have the beer here because, of course, I wanted Bourbon County because like Dave, I love the beer. I think it's great. It's one of...
You enjoy sales?
Yeah. I remember, running around looking for it all the time before we had the shop. And, but, again, part of it was, okay, this isn't a craft beer, Goose Island is craft original, Hawker's Ale, those types of things. So let's put them in the shop and see what happens. Well, the bottom line was it didn't move. So like Dave said, the beer sat on the shelf. So we had 312, we had IPA, we had a couple other, we had a couple of the sisters in the shop and nothing moved. So I quickly learned that people who are coming to shops like mine, that's not the beer they're looking for. They're looking for local. The first question people ask, what's local, what's new? And let's be honest, it's not Goose Island anymore. It's not local necessarily. It's not resonating with the craft beer geeks. So I knew we weren't going to get a lot. And so, the fall after we opened, it was probably about 11 months after we had opened, they came to us and told us what our allotment was going to be. And it was 3 things that I knew weren't going to move fast. It was, I had the FOBAB the week before. I knew which ones were going to be hot movers, which ones weren't. And they came with 3 that were not going to be. So I asked them if we could get a case of prop. And again, these were single cases. These were 3 different SKUs, 1 case each, which I was fine with. I get it. It's not, we didn't move a ton of their stuff. So I asked for a prop because I thought it'd be cool to just do a package, right? Have 4 different cases or 4 different beers, sell them like that. And I thought out of the reserve or whatever else was out that year, that was going to be the easiest one to get, right? Mm-hmm. And my rep, it was my Goose Island rep, said, no, those are chain allocated. And it wasn't, the message sucked, but it was the arrogance in which the message was given to me that was really right then and there. I'm like, I'm not going to carry this ever again. It's not worth having here. And then that also told me, and Josh, you wrote about this, that's the direction they want to go. So they're not seeing value in shops like Dave's and mine. They're seeing, they're not looking to go to the craft beer consumer anymore. They want to move volume in Jewel and some of the bigger stores. And they don't see the value of having their logo on our shelves right now. And so there's no hard feelings. They don't, and this is the quote I gave Josh, they don't need us and we don't need them, and wash our hands of it.
I think prop is a particularly interesting one to ask for because when they presented that for the first time, they're like, this is for Chicago. It's going to be only sold in Chicago. It's supposed to be for the craft beer community in Chicago. And them saying that's chain allocated is a very clear departure from the original presentation of what that was supposed to be.
In spirit, at least.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It could be a within
technically true. Yeah, it might be like only in the Chicagoland area.
Only chains, Walgreens. Only Whole Foods within the city limits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, you told an interesting story that I included in the article, and I'm curious if both of you guys, Dave and Eric and Chris as well as a beer store owner, if the degree it resonates beyond this one example, but sort of the counter example you gave, and you brought this up, was that early on you had a similar difficulty with Revolution that you had with Goose, where like your customers weren't coming in and buying 6 packs of Anti-Hero, or I think the other one you said was Rev Pills, 2 of their bigger volume beers. But they were willing to engage with you and try to figure out a solution rather than penalize you. Can you tell that story a little bit? I thought that was a really interesting counterpoint.
Yeah, it was. And again, it's another local brewery. They're large, not as big as Goose, of course, and not owned by AB. But yeah, we when we opened, we had Anti-Hero. We had, Cross of Gold when they were brewing it. We had those. And same deal. They didn't move. They weren't really beers that the craft beer drinkers were looking for. And we had a chat. There was something that they had released that they had just flat out, we had a good discussion, a great relationship with them. And they said, this has got to go to other places. We don't, it's not going to be able to go to you. So I said, we need to have a meeting and let's figure out what we can do to hit your goals and have you guys be successful here and vice versa. And they jumped at it. They said, we'd love to. They came out. There was a whole bunch of people from our distributor. Their rep came out and we talked through, okay, what's been moving here? We had been open for like 9 months at that point. So what moves, what do we have in our portfolio that might move? What can we get on the shelves just to make sure that we have a presence, because we have value, or we see value in being on your shelves. So the answer wound up being, we have freedom of speech on our shelf at all times and it moves really well. We have Hazy Hero on the shelf and it moves great. I don't have Anti-Hero. I've got 19.2 ounce cans of Anti-Hero in my cooler for train beers. That's it. So, Josh, like you said, they came to us and engaged and said, okay, what can we do to help you be successful, which is exactly what you want out of a partner.
So my question for all 3 of you guys, I don't know, you don't all have to answer it. I'd love to hear, though, from whoever wants to answer it, is what's the exception? What's the rule there? Is that Rev conversation more common, or is the Goose conversation more common? The one where, hey, let's work together and figure this out, or well, if you're not going to do what I need, then it's just not going to work.
I'll let you guys go first.
I would say Goose and Rev are pretty much the only 2 companies, maybe a half acre that big, that I would have that kind of conversation with.
There's even context for that conversation, right? That's what I was thinking.
That would. I'd really just say Rev and Goose would be the only 2 that I would have a conversation similar.
And that's because of their size?
I don't know because the size dictates that they have a rep at every store. They have a good sales team on staff. So my relationship with Rev has been very similar to Eric's. Like, they're the best. Like, Rev, they hire amazing people. They train their people very well. And I've had nothing but great relationships with my Rev reps. And yeah, they want to work with you. They want to sell beer to everyone. That's
cool.
Yeah, I would say too. So they have the bandwidth to be able to give thought to how to do that. So, there are some smaller breweries that will still do allocations. I just got one this week for a barrel-aged beer that was at Fobab from a smaller brewer. And they offered to us as one of their, better accounts. Right. But if we weren't on that list, I don't even know how we'd approach it, because they don't have any way. They don't have the ability to measure data and they don't have the bandwidth. The brewer's brewing beer. The brewer's probably dropping the beer off when we order it, right? So they don't have the bandwidth to come in and sit down for a half hour and say, all right, what moves here? What can we brew? What can we bring? So like Dave said, the bigger breweries are the ones that are going to put the time into it. And none of this was a surprise. I just said with the Goose thing, it was the arrogance with which the message was delivered, which was really what was the off-putting part for us.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny. It seems like you guys are saying similar things, but not identical. I mean, I think there's some definitely overlap. And being a jerk, I've definitely been there, Eric, where they're like, "Oh, okay, well, screw me, well, screw you." So and you just don't want to. You want to be a little bit spiteful there. No offense to Jason, Claudia, but and Brad and Claudia.
I'm sure they take great offense
yes.
for you using their brewery name.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Well, have you have any of these types of conversations with either of these breweries? or any brewery? Of
Yeah,
any
I mean, I
size
was trying
like
to think
that?
of another one that would have a similar kind. I mean, there are others.
Like
I think there are.
Rockhouse.
I think maybe phase 3, you could start getting into some of those conversations. At least back when they were doing some of their barrel aged stuff, that was making their way out. Maybe Half Acre. Maybe if you really wanted to get weird with it, like Perennial, because they do have Abraxas, stuff like that. But there aren't many.
Yeah,
there aren't
Perennial
many.
definitely was in that.
And
Right.
how did those conversations go generally?
I mean, they would go similar. They would go similar.
To Goose or to Rev?
Well, I think the end of the day, it's a similar story. It's are you supporting us year round? And whoops, I totally fucked up the mic.
Mark it down, sir.
I'll just hold it. I'll just hold this. Whatever. Yeah. Are you supporting us year round? And that is kind of the baseline. And then from there, you go. Now, I will say that Goose and Rev are definitely in their own category. You can literally hear Serge screwing it in. I'm sorry, I totally messed.
I think there
this
is
thing
some
up.
kind of material difference between those breweries
Here,
and
you talk for a
Goose
bit while we fix this.
specifically, where there's because those breweries can come to you and say we legitimately only have a handful of cases or so many cases of this, whereas Goose Island has all the cases they need to allocate them however they want, and them specifically having a strategy to go towards bigger box or chain is different than someone like Perennial being like, we only have 80 cases of Abraxas, and it's a legitimately rare resource for us.
And there's a difference in what it means to carry Perennial year round versus carrying Goose year round.
Sure.
Especially if
and
if
the
you're-
expectations and your competition in what someone else can sell of that, right?
And I do know I can't say certain things, but
we were so close.
Perennial has told the big guys to go
Can we get another
shove it.
Citradelic in here?
To go shove it.
The big guys meaning.
I'm not going to say. I just can't say.
Okay,
But
we'll save that one
what's-
for after.
But they're not afraid to tell the big guys who are asking for the same things, if they're not playing the game, if they're not doing right by them, to just screw off. And it isn't necessarily just about Abraxas, but about wanting special treatment or top tier treatment, whatever you want to call it. But
again, I don't know. I think a lot of beer stores would be happy to sell Perennial year round, right? Or to
maybe
sell
not if
phase
it doesn't
3.
sell.
Well,
Yeah, I
does
mean,
it?
I feel like they're starting to come back. Like our sales for Perennial year rounds are really gelling right now. But there was a time for like 2-3 years where, man, we could not sell like Saison de Lis and those regular beers.
Well, they switched
for a
over to your
while.
boy Kirby. I think that helped a lot.
I think it really helped because he actually gives a crap about the brand.
Keeps it fresh and orders accurately and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think that was a huge win for Perennial.
It is.
Move the can definitely helped.
I think it's important to state one thing really clearly that we've sort of talked around the edges is that Goose is not the only brewery to tie rare products to support and sales the rest of the year.
I mean,
right?
whether-
and
whether
Welcome to the spirits world.
well, right,
It is
bourbon's-
so
yeah. Oh my
blatantly.
God, yeah.
It is not a wink and a nod. It is. We have points. You earn this many points. This is what you get. That's all supposed to, I've heard, be completely illegal. But it's like
There is
they don't
literally
care.
an algorithm to figure out the points that you and I get. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
This many points gets
Yeah,
you this.
spirits.
This many points get you that. Then you get this bottle,
Yep.
or you get this bottle, or these, or that.
I
or
may
this.
write that story next if anyone wants to talk about that.
Oh my
please,
God,
on
you
the
talk to
record or
anybody.
off, email me.
Yeah, talk to anybody.
My
Anybody.
email's out there. But
Anyone.
but I also think it's important to make the point that in the realm of beer, and I double, triple, quadruple check this with people here right now and other people, that Goose is beholden to that sort of bourbon-esque practice a lot more than pretty much any other brewery.
Well, I mean, it's whether it's explicit or implicit, that exists for anyone who has a in-demand product, right? Like you will tend to give it more to people that have sold the things that aren't as in demand.
And I think
what,
sorry.
where it becomes different is where it's an explicit, we need you to sell these things that don't align with your store's ethos or move well in your store, and that's how you get the other thing.
I will say
And
on
when
the
the-
record, I've never had that from Goose Island, personally. They've never asked me to do that, ever.
Yeah.
Never. When I was bad-mouthing them, when I wasn't.
To do what? Carry specific brands?
Yeah, like you have to do this. You have to have this many SKUs. You have to have this much shelf space. We need to be on this. We need to be in the cooler. We need to be on this shelf.
Or what
None
about,
of that.
well,
ever
the way it was
happened to me.
explained
Not,
to me
not
is
saying it hasn't happened.
it's
Never with
more
me.
about your sales numbers and your growth. And that spreadsheets do come out for that stuff.
So what I will say is,
And Dave and Eric,
I
I'd love to
think-
hear if you had that
I
conversation.
think Goose Island is singular, maybe in the craft beer world. Maybe Sam Adams with Utopias would be someone else that would be similar, but it's such a minute thing where the dichotomy, if that's the right term, between some of their offerings and their other offerings, it's so different. I ask for Utopias all the time. I don't sell enough Sam Adams, and they tell me that. All the time being like whenever it comes out every other year. or whatever.
But you were never
Chris,
planning to
did you-
make your nut on Utopias. Like
I was never planning to make my nut on Bourbon County.
I would
either.
imagine there are some places that, like, when they first opened their first year, not saying this is what Eric or Dave were doing, but like, hey, when we're going to sell, X thousands of dollars worth of Bourbon County at the end of the year, and that's going to be great. And that didn't happen for them, but
Right.
no one was going to be like, I'm going to make my November nut on Utopias.
I thought about it if I was going to drop Goose Island or not. I mean, I looked at what the sales were going to be and would it be worth it and stuff like that. I mean, I thought about it
Yeah.
because there was a time, and I remember digging into my past year's sales, looking at it with somebody on the phone with me who may or may not be in this room right now, going through what I got versus what my sales were every year. And it was the very similar story to what Dave and Eric are saying. I remember being in my little basement office doing that and being, just saying like, this game is rigged, that you can't do it. I remember it. And we had to change how we did the releases. We had to change. And what I would always say is to our customers was, listen, we are not getting the big drops anymore. Like, it just isn't happening. They're going other places. You want to get the big drops, go to Walgreens. I would always use
Target.
Walgreens as an example.
Yeah.
Because it was the most
Got a little
lame.
twist of the knife to it.
Yeah. But totally true.
But totally, I
But
don't know
totally
if it still
true.
is. I wonder if Walgreens is.
Well,
getting
I'm
that
talking a
much
couple years ago.
Well, there was that crystallizing moment, 2014 maybe.
Yeah.
14? Yeah, it was before the
Is that when we
15
broke
maybe?
down
When
the cost of
Walgreens-
Rare?
Huh?
Yeah.
It was 15.
Talk about, going out on a limb.
Serge
I don't
coming
wanna
in
hear
with the
anything.
2015 memory. Walgreens got an ocean of Bourbon County, and Walgreens doesn't give a crap. They set it out at midnight on Black Friday. Someone posted it on Facebook.
Yep.
The beer nerds descended like vultures.
And took advantage of unknowing clerks.
Yeah, and those Walgreens people were probably
Yeah.
like, what is going on right now?
right.
What are they putting in this beer? And that's like when prop was the hot stuff, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, I can't remember what else they sold that year, but
Yeah.
there were probably a couple really hot ones.
Wasn't it Prop and Vanilla Rye that year?
Probably.
That
Sounds
sounds
right.
right. Yeah. And that stuff flew off the shelves at the Wicker Park Walgreens at midnight on Black Friday. Everyone on Facebook got furious, and the small retailers who'd been left out in the cold. What the
riddance.
hell?
So also to be like a little bit of I want to give the facts as I have seen them, because I have continued to do it, I feel, throughout the show. Like the history of the show, I've always done it. What Eric was quoted as saying, like, Rev wasn't really moving for us, and they worked with us. What works for you? And I have to be careful because I can't get in a situation where when someone talks to me, they think that this is going to go over the air. Like, this isn't like bad information. It's good information, but I just have to be careful about, I want people to be able to, I don't want to have to be like, hey, can I say this on a a radio show later. But anyway, it was almost an identical experience to what Goose said to me. What works for you? We don't want beer that nobody wants here. We don't want our beer to go bad. What works for you? And I will say that who your rep is matters immensely, and my reps have changed over years.
Dave's nodding in agreement.
And I hope that Goose is starting to maybe listen to what we've been decrying. It sounds like not, which is a bummer, because for me in the last couple of years, it has changed. They almost did a show of faith for me last year.
A couple small retailers. Sorry to jump in.
No, please.
Who have not had the experience you've had.
It sounds like it.
Like very small. Like, let's be honest. The Beer Temple is kind of like the Jesus Christ of Chicago beer sales.
I wouldn't say that.
He's saying, "Come on, keep going."
Yeah,
yes,
right,
yes.
right. Mm-hmm.
The craft beer event.
Oh, is that your hand under? I feel under the table, Josh.
Yikes.
Slower, faster.
No, it's perfect. Keep
two
going.
Weeks in a
Just
row,
don't stop.
Unnecessary touching happening
exactly.
on the show.
I think I mean, Goose Island would be the dumbest brewery in America to not see the advantage of being sold at the Beer Temple, right? But and I'm just saying that I have talked to a couple of really small retailers, ones I wasn't even aware of when I was writing the story, who have approached me and said I had a similar experience to what Dave and Eric were describing this year. Mm-hmm. So I think there's still the haves and the have-nots.
So maybe there's some, like, as Edmar would say, some cultural capital that we have, maybe. But my hope would be that the people at Goose Island would maybe use this as a use case and start just like using it in other places as well. Because the people I've talked to at Goose seem to be of a very similar mind to a lot of what is saying. And maybe they're just talking a big game, but I have noticed a change in the last 13 months. Like it happened. All right, I'm just gonna burp again off mic.
Do it on mic next time.
Yeah, and then
it's your show, man.
It's true. So where I think maybe there's some people on the streets whose voices are starting, and I mean at Goose, that are like starting to be heard up the chain. Mm-hmm. And it's not just coming down, because my guess would be they don't want this to become a gas station brand.
Right. It's too late.
For Bourbon County, Goose Island.
For Bourbon, it's too late.
Well, that's also I have to imagine they sell the vast majority of all of these variants in Chicago, right? They're not spraying that thin across the country. I think the
variants go pretty far and wide. In fact, I just got
nationwide.
I got it.
But not like most of it has to be.
I got a message, a DM right now on the Twitter about an hour ago from someone who lives in Minneapolis, saying that his local beer store put this year's Bourbon County beers on sale last week, and he got the double barrel. And he mentioned two others. I forget. I can't remember. But the stuff's going everywhere. It's
going out early.
I've seen people buying their full allocations nationwide already in some of my beer groups on Facebook and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this for a week.
Yeah.
As he points to his throne.
So you're happy with
that's what I'm sitting on.
Your relationship with Goose now, and you're happy to be selling this mountain of Bourbon County behind you?
You're asking that to me, obviously. I will say,
no, me.
We've never. I don't think I've ever carried 312. I don't think. I never thought it was going to be a fit. I don't know if I ever even carried IPA, although I've loved that beer quite a bit in the past.
The distant past at this point, I assume.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, maybe. So.
Well, I mean, I'm just
I don't feel like we've ever forced. I don't think I've ever forced the the beers more than I have for many other breweries. It doesn't seem like we bend over backwards for Goose any more than others. I will say that we used to move some. We service some corporate accounts downtown. They would ask for 312. So that might have juiced our numbers, like moving half barrels at a time, stuff like that. But
Certainly.
But what am I going to do? Say, no, I'm not going to give you 312. What you really should have is this golden ale from this brewery. No. If they ask for a specific beer, you give it to them, right. And that's me supposing something from those previous years. Kind of
What
lost
do you
the
guys sell
thread
the most
there.
of? What do you sell the most?
Matilda.
You sell a lot of Matilda here?
Always, and I think that's a good beer. It went through a rough spot, but I think it's drinking pretty well. And
Sophie, like what?
Yeah, Sophie too. I think Sophie and Matilda are solid beers. I think Goose Island Oktoberfest has always been pretty darn good.
That's an AB product now, I believe, right?
Yeah. To be fair, I have not had it this year.
So what do you carry? Sophie, Matilda, and the seasonals?
Well, Johnny's beer. I mean, Lost Palate.
Lost Palate.
For sure, we carry that. So, and that's it. And then some seasonals. We'll bring in summertime. We'll bring in Oktoberfest.
Does that stuff sell for you?
It doesn't get picked up. When we don't swap it out. So, that's how we do it. I mean, I'd love to, I'll tell you this right now. If we could get Honkers, I'd put it on draft. I would.
I'd drink it.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing they used to be a singular brewery for like sellout, for being a sellout.
Yeah.
It's not fair to hold them to that standard now because everyone's a sellout, as the most depressing show ever last week talked about.
I will rage against.
I mean,
that
everyone.
machine.
I mean, unless you're Scratch or Sierra Nevada, I hate you.
What is that?
So there you go.
What is that? Can you explain that in like 6 sentences?
Well, like, what's the difference between Goose Island being owned, selling out to AB, and Firestone Walker? And there are differences.
Oh, there's massive
selling
differences.
out to Duvel,
This is where we can talk
or
about my
Lagunitas
book.
selling out to Heineken, or Bell selling out to Kieran, or Brooklyn selling out to Kieran. Is that Kieran too? Maybe?
That's Kieran, but Kieran, and I mean, I think you
know what I'm talking about.
But well, I do and I don't. I mean, selling to Anheuser-Busch is radically different than selling to any other company. Anheuser-Busch has had its foot on the throat of American beer for the last 70 years. Kieran has not, right? I mean, at one point in not that long ago, one of every 2 beers sold in the United States was made by Anheuser-Busch. That has never been the case for Miller or Coors, let alone Kieran. Anheuser-Busch has been accused repeatedly of anti-competitive practices that Kieran has not. That's not to say everyone else is squeaky clean in the world, but Anheuser-Busch has a very radically different relationship to beer drinking in this country from and that sounds like something Pat Berger would say.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think I'm relying on my my overall statements to like belie the entirety of my opinion, but the landscape has changed. So now you're talking about subtleties of which multinational you sell out to, which is different. It's a different conversation.
Well,
I'm not going to be straight edge. I'm not going to be straight edge. I never was. I never stopped carrying Goose Island. Never.
Well, let's also point out that of the 8,000 breweries in America, how many have sold? 200, maybe.
So, right, I mean, but of a percentage as a percentage of barrelage,
right? It's massive.
I mean, come on. I mean, you're talking about
That's
the long
true,
tail.
But in the
long
percentage
tail
of
is
choice
a species. What's the argument? Specious argument. Yeah, I think because you've got you have 1,000 smallest breweries are making like a barrel a year.
Right.
They're looking at Scratch as big beer.
And we're spoiled when we walk in Chicago, for instance, because this choice here is
massive.
Is
great.
massive, which you don't get in a grocery store in Well, actually, you do get that choice in a grocery store in
really
Omaha,
do.
probably at
Yeah,
this point.
right.
I mean,
That's
you do, man.
That's what's
you do.
That's what's cool.
I mean, that's when I sweat is when I go into a grocery store in Omaha, and I'm like, "Geez, this is good." Which is, if you go back to the show 1 or 2, I said the death of stores like Eric, Dave, and mine is when good enough wins, and good enough is a lot better than it was 5 years ago.
And that's because of Anheuser-Busch's acquisition strategy.
No effing S. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, if you wanted to, this is something that everyone saw. They wanted to control the set.
Which I wrote about in my book,
the
Barrel
set.
Aged Stout and Selling Out, Goose Island, Anheuser-Busch. Now,
All right,
craft
you
beer
guys
became big
take,
business.
You guys take
Don't
this
get
for a
it
bit.
on
I'm
Kindle.
going to go.
Get the
I'm gonna go
paperback. You're going to the bathroom for the show.
Chris Quinn just is leaving the table.
Got too hot for him. We can talk.
What do
about
we
it.
do now?
Yeah, we just talk shit about Chris. Sorry, Serge. I mean, I get that there's like a significant difference in selling out to Budweiser and selling out to, Kieran. But none of those other
Or
places,
Heineken,
but none of those other places are playing this game with. We're withholding the thing that you actually want from us. That it's meaningful to the culture of your city.
That's the
I
thing.
think that's what this conversation is more about. We're going to withhold this thing from these smaller independent shops, which, to be fair, didn't build Goose Island, but are part of the culture of the city, its craft beer scene. Or
the smaller shops
surrounding-
didn't build Goose Island. I mean,
no offense to Eric and Dave, but Goose Island had been bought out before their shops opened.
Yeah, absolutely.
that's
So-
true. But I
They
I
never
guess,
gave a shit about me, nor should they.
Right. So, but
yeah, historically,
but
I don't know.
no
You
one
think
else-
about like I don't know, in indie stores in Chicago back in the day, and bars, Sheffield's, and
I'm
Hop
not.
Leaf.
I'm
you know,
not
I mean,
disagreeing that small stores did play, but I'm saying the specific small stores that they might not have relationships with, and I'm not defending them. I think
He's
this is
back.
disappointing, but
No, that's fair. I think that's absolutely true. There's no doubt about it. And you think about it, who did support them? Yeah, there were bars, but at the retail side, I mean, they're rewarding the places that did. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with it. Like it was Jewel, it was the other, liquor stores that are large chains. And great, that's fine. That's what I said. Like, and I think Dave, you'd agree. Like, I don't harbor a grudge about it. I get it. It's business.
I'm thankful, man. I partnered with Chris at Transient, and we have a killer brand now. Like, it's awesome. Screw this Goose Black Friday crap. I got my own festival to run. Like, it's fun. Like, I get to go hang out with a buddy and brew beer every year, minus COVID times. But yeah, like I'm thankful that this transpired the way it did.
I mean, it also allows you to do something that is more genuine to your ethos as a store and your ethos as a person, right? Like
Right.
like you do like the flavor and the way that that Bourbon County tastes, but working with Chris and working with a small producer is more of a resonant experience than just being like, we're going to sell, this many cases of 312 to get this many cases of prop this year. Like it's
and it's morphed more into like this community event. So we're 1 block away from the Christmas tree in downtown Glen Ellen. So like Black Friday, everybody comes out, they drink beer, they hang out. Like this year we have a local restaurant serving burgers. And then like at 6 or 7 o'clock, everybody leaves the beer cellar, walks over a half block to watch the tree lighting. And then they come back and they drink neck beer the rest of the night.
It's
And
beautiful.
like, it's a family oriented event. Like you get to watch kids grow up. Like,
Kids are
it's
drinking
just
neck
a
beer,
fun
and everyone's
community.
drinking neck beer. Dogs are drinking neck beer.
Nobody under 21 is
Cats and
drinking neck beer. Nobody under 21 is drinking neck beer. But yeah, like it's morphed into this fun community event, and like the people at Glen Ellen and now the people at Geneva, like they depend on this fun event, and they depend on the fun variants that they get to drink.
Which honestly
It's a blast.
is my favorite, personally. My favorite part of craft beer experience is the, connecting with people like that, creating those types of environments.
I thought you were going to say drinking the variants, drinking the melted candy bar barrel.
Giving my kids to the coconut variant of the neckbeard
Sacrifice.
nectar.
It's amazing what a
God.
stranglehold Goose had on the Black Friday thing. And you know what? Kudos to them. I mean, it's a
invented it.
barrel
They
aged.
invented
Exactly.
it,
It is a barrel aged holiday now, and Goose Island invented that too. I mean, the list of what
we had
Goose
Hobbs
Island
on. Hobbs
invented
invented it,
is
right? Yeah.
Hobbs
is remarkable.
fabric, if you ask him.
True.
Well, Greg Hall will take a lot of credit too.
Yeah, a lot of people take credit about a lot
Well,
of things.
that's the three-headed monster right there. But Dave's pivot away and creating his own thing on that day just shows sort of the resonance of Goose's creation, but also the stranglehold they had on it. And in Crafted, who we've mentioned a couple times, the beer shop in the South Burbs, they have forged a similar partnership with Microphone Brewing.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the day. You know what? I forget. There's this great example, and I forgot to share it until, we're like an hour and a half into the show, so hopefully people are still listening. A guy, also the Twitter DMs, that's where you can find me, though I've communicated with this guy before. He's a beer buyer at a bar in Virginia. He said he was offered by his local AB rep and Goose rep $70 kegs of Goose IPA, and if he agreed to tap those and pour those all year round, he said he could get as much Bourbon County as he wanted. So
just the regular or the
he didn't specify, but that's there's another piece of the game, and it's interesting to me that it's not just in Chicago. This has happened. I mean, Goose is the lead craft player for Anheuser-Busch nationally and internationally. Now you see Bourbon County in Europe and
Shanghai.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, how many?
This is happening all over the place.
It's happening all over the place, and I think that sucks. I think it's lame.
It sucks, and it's
last
lame.
week.
I think I will say from day one until now, I don't know why no one has ever asked us to do that, but no one has ever asked us to do that sort of thing.
Not even from the distributor side?
No.
But they have
never.
asked you to carry.
'Cause I got
You're
it
not
from
going to
both
get
sides.
this mountain of Bourbon County behind you without forging some kind of agreement, right?
The craziest thing ever
right
was
now, don't you?
a spirits rep, our first year open, said there's this insert the most well-known spirit brand you possibly can. He said, yeah, right. No. I mean, well, like way more than Pappy. I'm talking about like Jose Cuervo. Like it wasn't Jose, but that level. Was like, I need to find a new placement. I needed to get this many. I don't have any more. Everyone already carries it. You're the only one who doesn't. Can I sell you a bottle of it? I will buy it back from you, which is not cool. But he was good to me all year round. And yeah, I took in a bottle of that thing, and then he bought it from me. And he's like, okay, now I make my quarterly bonus because of that. That's the one and only time something like that has happened.
It was whiskey?
Chris,
It was a spirit. It was a spirit.
How often are you approached, both on the spirit and beer side, that does that?
Say it again.
I get that all the time. Like, hey man, I need to make money, or I need to make my quarterly bonus. Can you bring in one case of
that
what?
one time? Now
That's the only time you've ever been approached. Or
I'm not the buyer now, but maybe they're doing it behind my back all the time. But people don't. I will go and ask Max and Steven, but I really don't think it happens with us. I would tell you if it did, man. I would tell you if it did. It does not happen with us.
Secretly,
It is.
Max
I'm not
bought
the buyer anymore either, but that is a regular occurrence on the spirits, on the seltzer, and on the beer side.
Well, secretly,
I
Max
know.
bought 7 pallets of 312, and he's been drinking through them himself. For
I'm going to open up like I never saw this door here before, and I open it up and just I'm bombarded with
when's last time you were in the crawl space? 'Cause
Exactly.
It's just densely
my
populated with densely populated.
But I think,
flavor.
I honestly think Modelo was one of those where it was like, hey, bring in a case and I'll come by the shop this afternoon and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was Modelo.
I mean,
was
it
one of
may
those
have
big-
happened again. I'm telling you, from what I remember, it happened that one time.
I mean,
You know what? Let's say it's happened other times too. I
literally got
not
asked
many.
today.
Yeah, no.
I got today by a spirits rep. I got
Doesn't
asked
happen.
today.
Now, they'll
Can I tell you
tell us,
one
like, I mean, they'll tell us how it is, but we just don't play. I don't know. They just don't. I never have. And we're still a gnat, so it's not like, I don't know. Maybe we just don't give, maybe we're just so, like, lame.
Standoffish and unapproachable.
No, because they don't mind that. I mean, think of all the liquor store owners. But maybe we're just so, like, lame and clueless, I think, is maybe what it would come off as.
It's more likely.
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
I
laughing.
think they
Yeah,
pray-
very true.
Yeah, I think they try to prey on my ignorance. They're like, "Oh, this idiot will take one bottle of this." Yeah, I got asked today to bring in a certain spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled up the price at another retailer. I'm like, "Well, what do you want for this one bottle?" And it was above what the retailers are selling it for.
Right.
I'm like, "So you're going to get your quarterly bonus? I'll selling me one bottle that costs me $4 more than another retailer is selling it for."
Right.
No, I'm not going to
for
help you with
spirits,
your
it's
monthly
brutal.
bonus. Sorry.
It's brutal for spirits. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's always been. Yeah, I've never gotten that hard pay to play stuff. Again, these are all things that I've talked about openly on this show, probably several years ago. But Serge has been here from long ago. Like this is the sort of stuff that I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I know it does happen. I don't know why people don't come to us. Don't come to us. We're not interested. I'd rather not have to.
Or
I heard it
Chris
first. He
rather
doesn't know how to say no. He hasn't had to say no yet. Hasn't figured it out.
Exactly.
Everyone descend upon Chris. Sell him all your most expensive bottles of Jose Cuervo.
Exactly.
The Jose Cuervo Temple. Is this what this is going to be?
Exactly.
How are your hard seltzer allocations going?
Oh, brutal. We don't.
No
carry
Topo?
We don't carry much. No, we don't carry Topo.
What do you carry?
We carry White Claw.
Sick.
We carry Smooge.
Sick.
Oh yeah.
We carry Phase 3s.
Lulz.
Lulz.
Oh yeah, the lulls. Yep.
We carry the transient one that they've done, right?
Oh yeah.
What's theirs called?
Yeah,
I don't
you know the
know.
one.
Laugh.
It's got a different
Laughs.
label.
It's called Tickle Feathers.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I made that up. I don't know.
Have you had raspberry Tickle Feathers? It's incredible.
We might have carried City Water. We might have.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
many, but I mean,
Way up.
Does it move for you?
decent.
It did.
I guess. I don't know.
Eric,
Whatever.
Dave, seltzers are moving?
I mean, they did last year. Like this year, they took a big hit. But I mean,
seems
now
to
that
be
it's
the
winter
theme.
time, nobody's drinking that. I mean,
Yeah.
the sales are flat line.
What do those consumers buy during winter? Are they buying beer or are they buying others? They're buying like
Spirits,
other stuff.
right?
They're buying vodka.
They're buying everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nothing specific. Like they're a wine, beer, spirits, everybody.
Got it.
I feel like the seltzer drinker is more of like, I'm drinking a 9.2% Surly Abrasive,
Mm-hmm.
and in between my next one, I want a seltzer.
To,
Like I feel like that's mostly what
to cleanse the toxins.
Yeah,
It's got a slimming can.
Vegan, It's awesome.
I feel
It's healthy.
it's healthy. Just
Yeah.
holding it makes me healthier.
The black cherry has a lot of antioxidants in it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you know that pomegranate extract is
Flavoring.
is reminiscent of an antioxidant?
Yeah.
It's true.
Some people say that Adam
true.
and Eve, it wasn't an apple, it was actually a pomegranate white claw.
Extract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have we exhausted this topic? I think, or no? Is there anything else we need to talk
You know,
about?
this is one of the topics I don't really have that much input on. So if you guys feel like you've talked it out, I feel like it's talked out. Josh, you have anything you want to add?
I know there's two other jovial,
Eric,
lighthearted
Dave.
topics we could
There
we could
are,
go
but
into,
yeah, Eric, Dave,
go,
you got
go.
anything parting thoughts on this subject? I mean, you both seem content
like-
with your decision. I'll put it that way.
yeah.
You know, like, what do you need 10 flavored variants for? That's my whole thing. Like, I think they got 10 different ones this year. It's just like, come on.
They only have 8,
Go
and
back
only
and give
one
me-
tastes like Coca-Cola.
Don't be hyperbolic.
No, I'm for real. Like, I've seen like you get 10 bottles for $299.
Oh no, well yeah,
What a
Ben.
deal.
Actually, that's an interesting thing. Is Binny's. So there are 8 of them, and Binny's is doing a package of.
Not if you won the lottery. You may not get it.
Say again?
You may not get that if you won the lottery.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother subject. Ouch. Yeah,
Are
actually,
you going to write an article on that one too, Josh?
Nah, I just did that one on the Twitter. That was
The
did
lies
you see
and
that,
the
Chris?
deceit.
Yeah. Binny's. So that's the whole game is just it's messy right now.
That's just a
I got to
really
be careful talking
unfortunate
about that one
mess
because
up.
they'll come after me on that one. I will not talk crap about that one. Nope.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
Not, well, it's not even
Yeah,
talking
you have
crap.
found the mute button on that one.
I think we have to
the
explain
only
it now.
Dave Hawley mute button.
All right,
you
doesn't like
found
to, he's afraid to talk about Benny's. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about Benny's then. Dave must really love Benny's. That's why he's afraid to talk about it. You know? Afraid to talk about his love
somebody
for
has
Benny's.
a grudge to pick with me, and they have found it, and they poke that bear all the time. So.
Okay, we'll leave it be. What were you going to say?
Should we just explain it for the audience real quick?
Yeah, they messed up their allocation. They messed up their allocation.
They had a reserve allocation, which was 9 Bourbon County beers for $260. I want to say $259.99 maybe. That was a laugh. And then there's the reserve allocation, which had the fancy beers, and then the normal allocation, which didn't have the fancy beers. That was like 6 beers for $150, something like that. They accidentally sent out. They notified too many people that they won the reserve allocation with the fancy beers. When they sent out more emails than they had allocations, so they.
That sucks. That's
yeah,
like
and
a
it
worst
was-
case scenario, man.
And the guy, one guy, I purposely didn't include this when I talked about it on the socials, fell on the sword and said, I screwed up. It was my mistake. And I'm sure he felt absolutely terrible about it. And, of course,
sucks.
people were
Angry.
were very angry and went into conspiracy theory mode
Which is
about how they
it's
did it
very
intentionally.
Funny. Very funny, because what benefit is there for any
No,
retailer
it makes
to tell you,
absolutely
no, we
zero
lied
benefit.
to you,
It makes
you
no
can't have
sense.
it. There's no conspiracy.
That just
No
shows
sense.
where we're at right now.
Right.
But it also sort of
I heard
shows sort of
Q
the
got the biggest
messiness
penny allocation.
of how Bourbon County is sold right now. I mean, it's the whole thing's just so fraught.
Absolutely.
Just go get it at the beer temple. That's where you
You
need
can't. No, we
all
pre-sold it, man.
pre-sold.
We learned
Never
that lesson
mind. You
last
can't
year.
get them. They sold out too. Never mind.
We learned that. We learned that last year, which is
And
But
Eric,
because if you
no,
don't pre-sell it, it just sticks around forever.
no regrets on moving on
I
from
don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Maybe,
Eric.
maybe it
No
does.
regrets about moving on from the Goose.
No, not at all. That's what I said. We didn't need to have them on the shelves. And I told Mike this yesterday when he came in. I said, every SKU from Goose Island that's on my shelf takes away space from brewers like Mike, who are small local brewers. And, again, it's not worth the effort to have 3 cases of Bourbon County one day a year. Like, the margin for us doesn't make sense.
That really reminds me of something, Mike. Awkward timing, but I had to bump because I'm double facing Matilda. I'm sorry.
Son of a. Is it the
That was it was my choice too.
You only have
this was
so many
100%
percent of
my
my
choice.
beers.
It was my choice.
If only you could see this mountain of Bourbon County behind Chris Quinn right now.
Chris,
Well,
to be
you
fair,
know.
we're a much larger shop, so we have to make some tougher choices.
No, I'm Joe. I 100%. I had a very tiny little shop too. I get it, and I still do have my bottle shop's very small. We're acting like I'm like
Chris has the biggest store in Chicago. For those who
true
haven't been there,
of any type,
yeah,
any retail.
If you take
store.
all the binnies and you combine them,
any
that's about a tenth
kind of
what
store,
Chris has.
mine is the biggest.
Amazon is cowering at Chris's power.
That a boy.
The amount of Bourbon County that you have behind you, Chris, I might be more willing to play that game.
Right.
Like that's a lot of, and we know the margin on the retail is squat, right? So to do it for like 8 cases is no big deal. But when you can get that much, that makes absolute sense. And I don't begrudge anybody for doing that. And you've got, we talked about the relationship with our reps. That's the biggest issue. That's the biggest plus. But you've got a great relationship with your rep, and that works. That's fantastic. Yeah. And it should. That's the way they should all. And they just, in reality, they just don't all work that way. And it's too bad. And again, out here, Goose, and we have a different distributor than you guys do for all the AV brands. they've chosen to go in a different direction, which is fine.
Yeah, I will say again that hopefully the turn that Goose has made is something that maybe they're test marketing and will do to other smaller retailers, because I think having a more of an appreciation for the specialty shop is good for them, good for the shops. If they're willing to play with you guys and want to work with you, not play, that's a bad choice of words, but work with you guys. But yeah, so do you want to go with Mount Rushmore, Josh, or do we want to go with your topic? You can decide. You're the EP.
Can we do both?
Let's go. All right. So we also have to. So we were. There was something.
Can I throw one last thought out there on the Goose thing?
You can, but I don't want to forget, and I will if I don't say it right now. Then we'll get back to what you said. There was something we were supposed to mention later on that you were teasing.
Chekhov's barrel-aged stout review.
Yes, the reviews. That's what it was. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
we have to
yeah,
get to
yeah.
your reviews,
Oh, okay.
because
We
we
can
will
do
forget. But what were you going to say about BA?
I think that Goose is in a slightly better position these days, though you don't really reflect that necessarily with what you're doing here. But I did talk to some retailers who are doing the dance with Goose, let's say that, instead of playing the game. Goose is, I think they've become a little more nimble and a little more forward thinking. They got a canning line, for instance, a few years ago, and they're doing hazy beers and that stuff. It seems like they have some products to offer smaller retailers other than 312 and IPA now, which was, not really so much the case maybe a few years ago. Just more local, smaller scale, more interesting products that can maybe move the needle in a way that's meaningful to them, that results in Bourbon County allocation, later.
They've been doing that for years. Like when I pulled up the 22
Oh,
SKUs,
you know what? You're right. We did talk about this, didn't we?
Like we carried the Muddy, the Ogden. Like
Yeah.
they launched those whole brands to go after that like legit craft market, and they bombed. At least in my store. Like
that family of IPAs that we talked about. What was it? Rambler and Endless
Yeah.
IPA. And did you?
Oh yeah, I remember.
the Illinois,
Yeah.
the Rambler, the Muddy.
Yeah, you're right. You're
that
right.
was a
It's-
long time
it's-
ago.
But
That was
but they've at least
different
caught
generation
up.
ago.
Yeah, they've at least caught up to contemporary tastes with, they're doing hazies in 16-ounce cans at least now, made in Chicago.
That part of that umbrella thing.
And like the Sox beer, the Golden Ale, is actually, I think it's
Genius.
it's a really nice beer. And so if you're on the south side, it probably resonates. I mean, I don't think that beer would probably do much for you up here, but
Only beer I've been asked for.
oh, you have been asked for that one.
That's cool.
Because of the branding or the beer? Probably the branding, right?
Because there's a White Sox logo on there, man.
Yeah.
It's actually a good beer.
We're a Cubs bar, no Sox beer.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
They need to put out more like Briard, Obadiah Poundage. They really want to see stuff not move. Put that stuff out. Not because it's not good beer, but
It seems like my bottom line, I guess, is that it seems like maybe they're trying to be a little more flexible. And I should have noted this an hour and a half ago. I asked them for comment for the article, and they declined to comment. They did not want to engage on the subject whatsoever, and neither did Lakeshore Beverage, the distributor.
Are they tired of you? Is that why?
Oh, they're exceedingly tired of me. But
Wait, you don't have a great relationship with Goose?
I ain't going away. No, believe it or not, it's not the best.
you don't have the
I thought
best.
you guys were tight.
Yeah.
But I just write, I've long said Goose Island is arguably the most interesting brewery in the country, for better and for worse. They do a lot of, I think they make some really good beer. They've got good people working there.
Interesting argument.
And
Great
they
benefits.
and then there's a lot to write about. I mean,
Right.
the store, I spent 6 months writing about how they reacted when their employees tried to unionize. And, there was a story there to tell, and I told it. And there was a story here to tell, because no one quite does the beer allocation in town like they do, as we've discussed for the last hour and a half.
So what's I'm sorry, what's up, Dave?
Well,
Eric,
I was
sorry.
gonna say, the bottom line here is, we're all business owners, and if the beer sold we would be selling it. That's the bottom line. It's not about the game. It's not, if people came in or if we can hand sell it with confidence, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. But for us and for what we do, it just doesn't move. And so that's why we're in this position.
All right, let's get down to it. What are your favorite bourbon counties this year, Josh?
Barrel aged.
When does this go? When does this
Stouts.
go live, Chris? I need to know.
Not before your thing.
Okay,
I mean,
'cause,
let's
yeah.
be real.
All right.
Can
We pull back the curtain here on the mechanics of what we're doing?
The show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
is.
it's,
Today is Tuesday.
We say
Tuesday.
that.
It's
Yeah,
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. My Bourbon County review will go online Wednesday morning. So as we are
it's not,
speaking,
it is not,
this is not
there's
public
no way.
knowledge.
I mean, this may this will be
Might
lucky
come
to
out
go
by
out
the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Just so you know.
So I'll actually be curious to see how people react to this. But so I tasted through the lineup. Goose Island did after my story about the unionizing went after I told them I was working on it. They did not invite me to the media tasting for Bourbon County this year. So a lot of media wrote about Bourbon County a month ago because they were invited. They were sent the bottles by the brewery and they attended a Zoom tasting with the brewers and walked through and blah, 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 and formed their big thoughts. I was not invited to that this
Shocking.
year. Their choice.
2 out of 4 years that you haven't been invited, Josh?
2 out of 3, but who's counting?
2 out of 3. Okay.
Yeah, it was
all right.
my book. I think did the first, got me uninvited the first time. Then we made up, and then we made up.
I think
You
it's,
re-un.
yeah.
we re-made up. That's
Yeah.
right. Anyway, they didn't invite
right,
me,
you
but
get
I was able to get the roster of Bourbon County beers this year in advance, which was helpful.
You buy them from a gas station in Maryland.
Yeah, you got them shipped from Minnesota.
Could very easily have
gas
been a
station in
beer
Maryland
store in
have a very-
Minnesota.
very robust
They went
shipping
on sale
program now.
last week.
Hey, maybe DC they do.
So I tasted through the lineup, and with all sincerity, my favorite of the 8 beers, and I tested and retested this. What are you saying, Dave?
Saying, please be Coca-Cola. Please be Coca-Cola.
No, that one didn't do it for me. It is Bourbon County Stout. It is the original.
surprise.
I think it is the best beer of the lineup, and to me, it was pretty clear. It is the most sort of nuanced and interesting and balanced and approachable. I could drink a whole bottle of that.
Many years that has been my opinion. Not every year, but many years. The regular is my favorite.
Have you tried this year's?
No.
I'd love to hear what you think.
Okay.
It's just
Reach over your shoulder and
I was going to say, there's a bottle behind you, dude.
there's a mountain of bottles.
Yeah.
Pick one.
spillage.
Those are sold. Those are sold.
Now Chris is just flexing and pointing the Zoom camera at his,
Yeah.
So
his
it is.
mountain of
There is an
barrel.
interesting thing that went on with Bourbon County this year, which is the prices went up. Did you
Significantly.
significantly?
Yeah, what the hell's happening?
It's wild. So the prices went
Insane.
up, majorly. And my favorite was the most ubiquitous, cheapest one of them all. And there's no affectation there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make any point. That it is just, I think, the best beer.
They're too
of the
expensive
8.
for me. I mean, they're out of my willingness to pay. I'm not going to pay that much money for those.
Chris, how much is a
bottles.
bottle of regular this year?
$17 or something like that.
Is that what you're
That's up
charging?
from
Yeah,
what?
no.
Like
What is it?
$13.99?
Jewel is charging, and for our out of town
$7.99.
listeners, it's that's
The
a
Jewel?
big
Or is it
supermarket here. They're
13?
$13.99.
13. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
that. I forget. I guess my answer
but
should
you're
have been,
gonna-
I don't remember.
But you're going to charge more than Jewel, right?
We're charging.
Probably.
We looked at the costs and we did it as a set. We're not selling any regular. We're selling only sets, which is
Only-
what we
okay,
asked.
okay.
We've been asking to do that for a while, and they
I wonder if that's
we've been asking for years to just do it as sets, and they allowed us to do it as sets this year. So we're not selling any individuals. We with one tiny exception. We'll have a little bit extra of one of them, not the regular. So.
oh yeah.
So, but like a little bit extra. So yeah, I mean, it's just we're just doing straight straight sets, straight margin like we do every year, which we're a little bit over everybody. Usually we're a little bit under everybody. This year, maybe we got our numbers wrong. I don't know. We're a little bit over everybody by like $10 or something like that.
What are you charging for the set?
$270, which is the highest I've seen. We're charging.
Well,
it's all,
everyone's close.
It's
Like
all
I've
sold
seen
out.
260, right?
Oh.
So
Yeah,
you're not
that's
that far behind.
269.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen 269 a few times.
The other,
okay.
the
Then
other
that's us.
interesting
That's
thing
us,
with
yeah.
this year's lineup is the packaging. Have you noticed
packaging
this?
is spectacular this
Well,
year.
it's spectacular, but I also think that's the excuse, basically, to charge more. I mean,
it's so expensive this year. The
It's so
Blanton's one.
Oh,
is the,
that's fancy.
right. The Blanton's
well,
one is
if
the
you could
hexagon.
see in there, the
the
beer, the bottle is in an embroidered
really?
felt bag with the Blanton's.
You can't open
no,
that.
I
With
can't
the with
open
the
that.
no, you
You
don't
sold-
want to open
you already
that.
sold that.
with
Don't
with
ruin
the
someone's
little
day.
horsey bottle stopper around its
Whoa.
neck. They are all in on the packaging and the marketing. Like they've kicked it to another level this year. I know they did the boxes a
really
few
cool.
years ago
That's
for
actually
rare,
pretty cool, yeah,
but
man. I dig it.
it is. But I'd rather pay $10 less and just have the damn beer. You know,
No,
I
Hey,
mean,
remember
that's-
when
You would,
uh,
but you're also not invited to the tasting anymore. So I don't know.
remember when Neckbeard Nectar had a Blanton's variant that didn't have to put all the bells and whistles on there to sell out the first day?
yeah. What'd you
Remember
charge for that?
Not $30 or whatever the hell they're charging.
They're
I
charging.
think it was like 22.
They're charging 40, and that's
$40,
Jewel prices.
Yeah, but
which
they
is
gotta
gonna
sell
be
this
cheaper.
stuff at Target
They
and
got to
Jewel.
get that
Come on, guys.
Blanton's money, man.
Yeah.
At the
That's
line,
ridiculous.
the lineups, it's okay this year. Like the double barrel, I thought was good, but not as good
Better.
as the regular.
How about last year versus this year? Last year was they knocked it out of the park last year.
the double barrel?
The whole lineup overall.
Oh, last year's lineup was the best across the board I've had in ages,
I
and it was
agree.
better than this year. I thought.
Okay.
Last year was good. Like even the caramel apple one was
they
like
were all
this
good.
This is
Yeah.
dialed in. This one I think has a big sort of mediocre center. There's no like outright. There's one that I
What's the
actively
worst one?
disliked.
What's that one?
The Reserve 150.
What does it? What
Stout.
does it mean?
That's aged in Old
150
Forester.
barrels. Old Forester
It's aged in
150
150 barrels. That's right.
What is that? What is Old Forester 150?
It's one of the trendy bourbons.
Is it 150 proof? Like, it seems impossible.
Stop asking stupid questions, Mike. It's just
Oh,
150.
it's just a number.
That's it.
just
Got it.
means
Got it.
150.
Well, it's interesting. That's one of
Cool.
the high end ones. That one it retails at again at Jewel is my baseline because that's sort of the cheapest price you're gonna
Yeah.
see for $40.
Okay.
And it's I think an aggressively not good barrel aged stout. It's just
Okay.
it's a mess.
Aggressively not good.
Yeah, it's I
Good thing Chris pre-sold his already. Jeez.
yeah, it's part of the package.
Huh. It's almost as if I had thought about this.
And it comes in
ahead
a
of time.
it comes in a fancy box, you know, a fancy cylinder like it's
So
whiskey.
it's aged in Old Forester's 50th anniversary bourbon barrels.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Which doesn't
That's
actually
interesting.
mean anything.
But,
Yeah,
but
but-
it's an
but-
interesting thing to. It's interesting.
It's a story, it's
Yeah.
a package, and it's expensive, and the beer's just not very good.
I think that's the way. Honestly, I think that's the way to go. Is like to try to like attach yourself to maybe singular releases of bourbons and stuff like that. Stuff that cannot be replicated again.
Great marketing.
I think it's just a smart, ephemeral way to do it. Personally,
Are we after the marketing or the beer though?
I'm not talking about even marketing. I'm just talking about like in terms of. I feel like I definitely am a broken record, but I've said on the show before, like that's what they should do is like go for like cool singular expressions of stuff.
That's what
I
they're
think
doing.
years
Yeah.
ago
they can
we
do
talked
it
about
because
Yes.
that,
they're,
and they started actually doing it.
yes,
'cause they're
They're listening to the show. You know?
right. They listen a couple years later.
They found out how expensive it was to make, and then they found
Right.
out they should be focusing on the bourbon, not the.
Yeah, I mean, like whatever. Like the packaging is obviously like that goes into the cost, obviously. But I think if you want to do something that is going to be unique to that year, do a unique release that year. And you know
Right.
what? The fact that it might not translate every year, but it still costs a lot, is kind of not the point. The point is if it's a jackpot, it will never be able to be made again, and then you
Just like rare.
right.
Except they made it twice.
Well, then they
and
double dipped.
And
then.
Rare
did
wasn't
they,
that
though?
good. They did it last year, actually, I would argue, with the birthday one.
That
Yeah.
one was
That was
fantastic.
a wonderful beer.
Yeah.
Wonderful beer.
Yeah, we might have some of that for sale on Friday.
I'll
Maybe.
buy one.
Maybe.
I already saw it back
There
have
might
a
be
keg
some
of it?
sitting right there. I don't know if we have a keg of it. We got anyway. Let's move on. So we have a bunch of old variants and stuff like that, but that we've just been holding on to. So, what's your topic, or should we just do Mount? Let's just do Mount Rushmore. Let's just do it
My
fast.
topic was
We
so
gotta
silly.
go.
Okay, we're going too long, Search?
We're going long.
Oh,
It's,
we can
we
go
gotta
slow.
kind of go fast.
Go Rogan.
I can
Mount
do mine
Rushmore.
really quick.
All right, what's yours? Let's just do yours and said we're not
No,
going to do
I
Mount
want to
Rushmore.
do Mount Rushmore. I don't even know what the Mount
Well,
Rushmore
we
one
can't
is.
do both. We're
All right,
already over.
No, Rushmore.
Okay. Mount Rushmore
Mine was dumb,
of
actually.
craft beer.
American craft beer,
Yes, American craft beer. When I say craft beer, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
which is
Four.
four beers that
Four.
are
You've got, what is
I
it?
got
It's
this.
The
what?
most
Jefferson,
iconic.
Washington, Lincoln, and Roosevelt.
And Trump.
Roosevelt.
no fun.
You're really going to drop this at the end?
I know. No, I dropped it at the beginning,
Wow.
didn't I? Didn't I say that we?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know if it was
no,
on
you
this
mentioned
show.
Patriots. I had worked on that. That's what I've been preparing
Oh,
for.
you thought we were talking about football?
Okay.
Well, yours can be the four Patriots.
Gronk.
I
Yeah.
had three immediately, and now I've got my Jefferson, or maybe I've got my Madison. Wait, is Madison on there?
No,
I've got
Madison's not on it.
All right,
Roosevelt.
I've got my Trump.
Well, we can all agree.
Got it.
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yes,
Of
that-
course.
Yep.
Is anyone not saying that's in there?
No, let's just go around.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no.
okay.
Let's go around. What's your four?
Oh,
or should, want me to go
I think
first?
you should go first because you've thought about this
Boy,
before.
I haven't
I
really.
co-host the show, and
Sierra
we've never
Nevada.
talked about this once.
Sierra Nevada. Definitely.
Yeah.
Bourbon County.
Yeah.
Yes. I
think
that's
it's on
that's
there.
on there for me too.
Yep.
After that, it gets really darn hard, and I might just steal from somebody else that I talked to about this yesterday, which made me think about it. I will go Sam Adams.
Yeah. Can't argue that.
Okay.
Wait, are these
I don't know.
And I'll
best
go-
or most important?
Like my Mount Rushmore.
most
You can
iconic, most important.
interpret it however you want. That's the fact. That means whatever
Mike,
you
you're
want.
going most important?
I got one more.
I'd say iconic or important.
Iconic. Okay.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Okay.
Pliny the Elder.
I would
Oh,
put Pliny on there. I don't know if I have Sam Adams.
I think if you're talking Mount Rushmore, I mean it was
Yeah.
so foundational.
Yeah.
But I could see any of those, except for one, I could see being moved off.
It's just personally, it's never been a thing.
It isn't for me either.
And
These aren't my
and
four
the,
personal favorite craft beers.
right.
It's just my Mount
The
Rushmore.
other
There
three,
you go.
though, for me also have personal.
Yeah.
What would your four be, Josh? Those
So I will say the first three were immediate.
Boston.
No.
Pete's Wicked.
Pete's actually was a big beer for me back
Jenny
in
Cream Ale.
94.
I got to remember that, like
Oh,
when
yeah.
this all started, right?
Yep. He had a
first breweries to start doing all the seasonal stuff too.
Absolutely.
that's
Pete's
right.
Wicked,
Yep.
Pete's Winter,
and he had a
Sam
boat-
Adams was early on that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Winter Wheat and stuff.
Yeah, Sam Adams. I mean, yeah,
Winter
they're easy to sort of mock now as Angry Orchard and Truly, but yeah, they were. I mean, their contribution cannot be overstated.
And also like mocking the big guys. We make less beer than they spill all. Like
right.
that whole thing. Yeah.
So Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Bourbon County Stout. I feel like this is going to be my counterpoint to Sam, so I'm not going Sam. I'm going Anchor Steam,
Cool.
Yeah.
and this would be my counterpoint to Pliny, Hetty.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Hetty on there over Pliny. Got it.
Yeah.
How about
Well,
you?
it portended where things were going,
yeah.
I mean, I gotta get Zombie Dust on there, but
yeah.
Dust.
yeah,
Zombo, Cenotaph,
I want to get Zombie Dust or Two Hearted in there somewhere, but I don't know if you can.
bottles of zombie, cans of zombie, growlers of
a
Cenotaph.
bottle of Zombie, a growler, a draft pour, a half full growler of Cenotaph. I think it's got to be Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Bourbon County. I got to go Pliny. And then I don't know what the fourth would be. I think
Can I suggest? No.
Terrace
that's not
Bulba.
fair. What about Allagash White?
I think so, but I don't think it's up there with those. I want it to be. I would love if it was. but I just don't think it's up there with any of those.
It's its
other-
own little niche.
Yeah.
And then it's
That one was
a brilliant
very,
niche.
very close
And I
for
think
me.
the idea is like all these other beers have inspired significant amounts of other craft beer growth, whereas Allagash White is just filling all of the space.
Because nothing can compete.
Right.
It's just better than
It
all
is
of them.
ridiculous how good
It's just
that beer
better
is.
than all of
I
them.
bought a 12-pack this summer for a backyard barbecue, thinking like, "Oh, this will be fine." And I was like, "This
Probably
is so much
drinking
more
it
than
more
fun.
than like
It's-
even the
oh,
lagers
yeah.
and stuff. You
Oh,
just crush
yeah.
it,
Well,
and
it's
then
al-
drink
it's
it in the
also-
winter.
so here's-
you'll crush it in the winter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is also like, look at the difference between that beer and 312, where there was a point, I was talking to someone recently that 312 used to be a very crushable beer when I was like in college. Like
That one GABF medals that beer.
Yeah, it was.
It's easy
it was,
to forget
It was
now.
a very tasty, densely populated flavor, and it doesn't taste that way anymore. It doesn't
No.
taste like anything I would recognize.
Tastes like
as
gas
good
station beer.
Tastes like gas, and Allagash White just gets better and better. So yeah, I'm gonna take Allagash White then. I've been
You're
I've
welcome.
been talked into
You're
it,
welcome.
but I don't know if it's true. But
All right,
I want to get it.
Let's
I'll
get
it in there.
let's get the Zoomers in on this. Mount Rushmore
Your Mount Rushmore of Allagash
of
Whites.
Allagash craft beer from Portland, Maine.
You go first.
I'm just gonna add one to it. Bell's Amber.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In the Midwest for sure, right?
Okay, so that's one. You got Bell's Amber.
I mean, Sierra, Bourbon County, and I'm struggling to find a hoppy. I'm not sure. I have to give a little more thought to that one.
Okay.
Like a good IPA. I don't know. I mean, do we? Well,
You know who actually I think doesn't get enough credit on this front is Lagunitas, because they
Or Stone, right?
Stone. Well, yeah.
I think also part of this is like beers that we still would be like, I want to drink that right now.
Time.
I was
right?
going to say Stone IPA. I mean, Stone was hard to get here for a while. I mean, until they moved in 2011. But
Or like
anytime
Firestone Walker.
I was having pizza.
they'd
I'm
be
sorry,
on the
I'm sorry,
Mount
Eric.
Rushmore of breweries, I would say.
I'm sorry, Eric. What were you
Furious?
saying? We talked over you.
Furious, yeah.
Oh yeah, Furious. Or Alpha King or Gumball Head. I was
Yeah,
at
Flo's.
Pat's Pizza a couple weeks ago, and
On
they
Lincoln
had Sam Adams Oktoberfest. I was like, that's a classic seasonal. Usually one of my better than most Oktoberfest Sam. All right, they came back. They're like, we're out of it. We have this other Oktoberfest, but we do have regular Sam. And I was like, I haven't had a Boston Lager in forever. Crushed it. Whoops. Ordered a second. Like, I was like, you know what? People should revisit this beer. It was in great shape, and it tasted awesome, and it tasted relevant again.
This was how long ago?
A couple weeks.
I think you just sparked a story idea for me.
Yeah, it tasted relevant
Tasting
again.
the classics.
So,
Yeah.
Can I taste them with you? I
Yeah.
want to do this too.
I
All
had
right, so
I had
Dave- sorry.
Sorry, now that we're on this mini tangent, I had a fat tire at the New Belgium Brewery in Fort Collins a couple of years ago.
yeah,
Mind blown.
loved it.
Loved it.
That's cool. They give you like incredibly fresh fat tire when you go there.
Yes, they do. And
Like
it
hours
is
old or day old.
delicious.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dave,
So Sam Adams Oktoberfest was on my list,
Tom
Ooh.
Brady.
but then I was like, wait, no, I'm making it Dave's Mount Rushmore, not
Okay.
Beer
Totally up to
community or
you.
whatever.
Yeah.
so La Folie,
Awesome.
Anti-Hero,
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon County, and Arthur.
Nice.
Had to get some Hill Farm love.
Yeah, got to.
Got to get
I mean, they
Sean
really
Hill's
like
face
brought
up
that
on there.
American saison popularity. Like,
I mean, Bam beer. If we're going in that world, that's got.
oh, Bam beer is awesome.
That's
Or
the ship that
the cat
sent-
one.
Oro,
the face that launched
Colorado.
1,000 vinegar barrel aging programs.
Yeah.
Is Bam.
Rioja.
Not real. Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my very first sip of La Folie. I mean, that was like a mind-blowing experience.
Yes.
So nice to hear that shouted out. That was at Delilah's.
I was
Nice.
I was not a beer guy. I was like a sugary cocktail guy. And I went out to my buddy's wedding in 2007, and we went to New Belgium to do a tour. And I'm like, I don't like beer, but I was always willing to try beer. And I tried La Folie that day, and I was like, what? Beer sour? What? It like blew my mind.
And it ruined
So
your
I bought
life. Look at you now.
I bought an $18 $7.50. That was like the first beer I ever bought. It was an $18 750 milliliter cork and cage to fly back to Chicago.
Old school waffle.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's awesome.
I found about what's that famous bottle shop in Seattle?
In Seattle. In Portland or in Seattle?
Seattle.
I don't know.
Man, I've been to a few of them. I don't even remember the names.
Either way, I was there like 3 years ago, and they had one bottle of 2007 Waffle in there. Like they have like this special cooler where it's all vintage rare shit. $125. Best $125 I've ever spent.
Wow. Whoa.
Kudos
How
to
did they
you.
even get that? That's crazy. Good for them.
I think it was, I don't know how. But
Sold a
Meanwhile,
whole
good for them.
time during the year, and they got one bottle.
They played the game.
They sold 8 pallets of
They
fat tire.
played the game.
Bottle Works.
They did the
Bottle
dance.
Works.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
So
Oh, I've been there,
we all
yeah,
put
yeah.
Bourbon County on our Mount Rushmore, which explains why we just spent 2 hours blathering about it, right?
Right.
Right.
Right. If it wasn't
Right.
good and it wasn't iconic, we wouldn't care. No one. We would. You wouldn't be
Yeah,
writing stories
nobody would
about
give
it.
it-
You wouldn't have written a
yeah,
book.
And Goose is clinging to that with everything they got,
Yeah.
even
And,
though one of them tastes like Coca-Cola this year.
yeah.
Hey, you're trying to keep up with the kids.
I
And
will
one tastes
say-
like strawberry ice cream. That one,
There's been ones that are out there that I had no interest in trying. For whatever reason, the Coca-Cola one, I do want to try this year. I don't know why. It's
Same.
so weird that I want to try
I think
it.
Coca-Cola is a cool flavor. I don't drink a lot
exactly.
of Coca-Cola, but I think it's
Cola
actually
is, yeah.
it's also a complex flavor. Like,
Yeah.
we just
And
take it as like,
herbal
this
and
is
you know what?
Coca-Cola.
That's actually where they fell short on it. I've had some
Complexity.
of those cola, those riffs on cola and barrel aged beers that I thought worked shockingly brilliantly, and this one doesn't. It doesn't have that complexity. It actually tastes kind of like a cinnamon churro.
Oh, interesting.
That sounds pretty
that
good
sounds
too.
delicious.
Actually,
It does, but I don't need more than 4 sips of it. And I drank a whole 16-ounce can of one of those cola barrel-aged beers made by Half Acre. That was a couple of years ago. That was
they
absolutely
made
delicious.
a cola beer.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
What was that?
Orin
Benth Cola.
something. Orin
Orange
RC.
Cola. Something.
RC Orin.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go.
That's only Midwest.
Exactly. I think it's probably about time. We're over time, but that's okay. We can do that.
Great content.
I want to thank all my guests. But before we go, we have to spend a little bit more time and allow everyone to have a final word if they wish. Eric or Dave, anything you guys would like to say? Thank you before you say anything. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. It was short notice, but the article just came out, and it's kind of how we do things.
I'll be relevant.
It was fun. Thanks, Chris, for having me. It was great. Love talking with Dave here too. So, Dave, I'll see you on Friday. I'll be up there for my neck beer,
Thanks.
buddy.
Cool.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks for having us out, Chris. It was good to see your face again.
Yeah, man. Been a
You
bit.
too, Eric. It's been a while. I still have yet to ever like engage with Josh face to face because he was not actually present the entire interview. Oh my God, it's like meeting an online
Hello.
girlfriend. Hello.
Ah,
Some Manti Teo going on.
that's who I told my
You
deepest, darkest
exist.
secrets.
Is me.
Nice. Good to see you face
And
to face.
you. Yeah. I'll make it out there one day when my kids grow up and I don't have to
I know.
Deal
We're
with
in
out
the
there, I
same
turned
club.
waking
the,
up at
the laptops.
whenever they
You can see each
wake
other.
up.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about Neckbeard, man. I because of COVID, I didn't get to go out and brew it with him this year. So I actually haven't tried it yet. So I'm looking forward to trying it tomorrow when it
And
shows
how
up. at the
many
shop.
how many neckbeards are there this year?
4 variants.
Coca-Cola
Yeah, you got a whole thing.
We got
Pepsi, Coke, RC,
and
Coke-
Suicide.
and
We got
Aldi
Coke.
brand.
Yeah.
we do have Coke, coconut, and vanilla,
Wow.
and then there's a maple barrel version, an Elijah Craig 11-year version, and then we started doing this Neckbeard Life where we blend a barley wine and a stout together.
That's cool.
Usually there's some sort of nut involved in there, but we went nut free this year. So
Not free
I'm
November.
not at risk of killing one of my employees every time he pours that beer. So I'm
That's
happy
good.
about that.
Yeah. No lawsuits.
No lawsuits, no deaths. I really like the guy. I'd
That's all.
be really upset.
Good.
Chris, you guys have been killing it there too. So thanks. I mean, you guys have been an inspiration to all of us out here in the suburbs over the years too. I know all of us have visited your shop and certainly taken a lot of inspiration from it.
That's very nice of you. Thanks for saying that. And I hope you guys all kill it out there in the burbs as well. I will admit freely, I have been to Dave's, but don't. I've been to both your spots. I think more than once. But I'm afraid. I fear the suburbs, so I'm afraid of them. I don't make
That's
it out
fine.
there.
There's a
very
reason
much.
you're on Zoom with me right now.
Right. Yeah, I'm afraid. Like I say, there be dragons.
There be dragons.
Yeah, when I look at on Google Maps, it just turns blank and says there be dragons. I was like, okay, I see what you're trying to tell me. But thank you very much. It's always awesome to hear what the other indie shops who care are doing. So thank you very much. Josh, anything you want to say?
Fun to chat. It's fun to write about the beer industry. And I have decreed this the winter of sweatpants, so I encourage everyone to wear sweatpants as much as you can.
Josh.
Cool. There you go.
That's it. Yep. It's all about comfort, man. I know last winter was the winter of sweatpants for a lot of people, but I'm saying this is the real winter of sweatpants because we got to keep the momentum going. Okay?
Right.
It's about comfort.
Preach.
It's about feeling good. It's about being you.
Got
Winter
it.
of sweatpants. What are you wearing? Well, right now I'm wearing jeans. But
It's not winter yet. It's not winter yet, Serge.
about 85% of the time I'm wearing sweatpants. I got some nice fleece-lined sweatpants at Costco. I bought one pair. I loved them. I went back. I bought another pair.
Wow.
Different color. And, sweatpants, baby.
Amazing.
Put 'em on my
I'll
shopping
remember.
When's that article coming?
Man, woman,
I can't
child,
wait for that to
does
snap back
not
because now,
matter.
because of all this, everything going more and more casual, in like 5 years, everyone's going to be wearing like 3-piece suits again, like they did in the 30s.
Yeah, it's gonna be Mad Men.
Yeah,
No way.
it's gonna be like remember like you see the old pictures where like people just walking down the streets, they're all in suits.
And then like those guys.
Thanks
must
to you
smell
guys, that's
terrible.
what's gonna happen now.
We got to reverse climate change before that happens. Though.
True.
Be too hot. Be sweating a lot.
To be wearing all that wool.
Yeah.
Well, anything you would like to say, Mike?
No. Nothing particularly. Thanks
Let's go.
thanks for co-hosting the podcast with me, Chris. It's been a
You're
blast.
welcome. I think we should go drink some beer, maybe some Bourbon County. I've got a whole mountain of it. All right.
You have to send out emails like Binny's where you're like, oh, we had your
Whoops.
allocation. Then we drank 93 bottles between
up.
4 people.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week for the next Beer Temple podcast. So long.
Bye.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.